everybody, it's Carissa. Today I wanted to show you how to work two-color brioche flat, that is back and forth in rows. If you have never worked two-color brioche before, I recommend going back and watching my other video about two-color brioche in the round. I think it's a lot easier to learn two-color brioche in the round instead of flat. If you are already familiar with two-color brioche in the round, then working it flat shouldn't be too big of a leap. We're still going to be alternating rows of the light color and the dark color, but with brioche in the round, you're always knitting with one color and always purling with the other. Since the fabric gets flipped back and forth when you're working flat, sometimes you will be knitting with the light color and purling with the dark color, and other times you will be knitting with the dark color and purling with the light color. And it can get a little confusing keeping track of which row you're on, but I will show you how to figure that out. So first let's start. I've just cast on 10 stitches here and knitted one row just to get us a base to work with. Now I'm ready to join my light color on the next row. So I'm going to start with my brioche setup row, which is just alternating knit one with slip one yarn over. So I'm going to knit that first stitch. There we go. And slip one yarn over. So we want our yarn to be in the front before we slip one and yarn over at the same time. Knit one, yarn front before we slip one and yarn over. Then we can knit one. And if you hold the yarn in your right hand, we're going to yarn forward before we slip one and yarn over, and then knit the next stitch. Yarn front, slip one, yarn over, and knit the next stitch. And that last stitch, we're just gonna slip hem and drop the light color. We're not gonna do anything. We're just going to slip that last stitch from left needle to right needle. Now it's important with brioche worked flat that you still use either circular needles or double pointed needles, because our next row is going to be worked with green, but my green yarn is over here at this other end. I can't start working with it at this end. I have to slide all my stitches to the other end of my needle so that I can work with the green color. So that's why it's important that you use either double pointed needles or circular needles if you are working brioche, two-color brioche flat. So just like with brioche in the round, I'm ready to use my dark color for a purl row. And to maintain a nice selvage edge, just like I slipped that last stitch without doing a yarn over, it wasn't a slip one yarn over, it was just a slip one, I'm going to do the same thing on the first stitch of this row. So I'm just going to slip that first stitch without doing a yarn over at the same time. Then I will start with my brioche purl, because you can see this is a slip one yarn over from the previous row. I've got the slipped green stitch and the white yarn over sort of crisscrossing him. So I'm going to brioche purl those two stitches together. There you go. Now my yarn is already in the front for a slip one yarn over, but on a purl row we have to come all the way back to the front with our yarn over to be ready to brioche purl the next pair. And if you are an English knitter, our yarn is already in the front, so we'll do our slip one, yarn over all the way around the front again, and brioche purl, brioche purl that next stitch. Yarn is already in the front, so slip one, yarn over all the way around, and brioche purl the next pair. Yarn is already in the front, so we're going to slip one and yarn over all the way around. Oops, all the way around. And we're just going to purl the last stitch. It doesn't have a yarn over to go with him because we didn't do a slip one yarn over. We just ended with a slip one on the white row. So we just have a purl one instead of a brioche purl one at the end of this row. All right, there we have one pass with each color. Both of our working yarns are at the same end of our fabric. And often when you read a brioche pattern, you will see the row numbers or the round numbers repeated. So each row is made up of two passes. We've got row 1 light color and row 1 dark color. So once you have completed one pass with each color, then you have completed one full row of 2-color brioche. Now here, since both of my yarns are at the same end of my fabric, I do not have to slide my stitches to the other end now. Now I will actually turn my work over to work the next row. I just finished a green row, so now I'll be working a white row. But because I flipped my fabric over, we're now looking at the dark side of the fabric instead of the light side of the fabric. And on the dark side of the fabric, you will purl with the light colored yarn. So, get myself untangled here. So I'm going to work a brioche purl row with the light color. Now that first stitch is just a green stitch. I don't have a slip one yarn over or anything like that. So in order to maintain our selvage edge, I'm just going to slip that first stitch purlwise. That's it. Now my next stitch has that slip one yarn over crisscross. So I'm going to brioche purl those two strands together. My yarn is already in the front for a slip one, yarn over all the way around back to the front, and brioche purl. And if you are English style knitter, my yarn is already in the front to do a slip one, yarn over all the way around, and brioche purl. Yarn is already in the front, slip one, yarn over all the way around, and brioche purl. Yarn is already in the front, slip one, yarn over all the way around, and we don't have a slip one yarn over here, it was just a single stitch, so I'm just going to purl him. Not a brioche purl, just a regular purl. All right, now I've completed row 2, dark side, light color. So I'm looking at the dark side of the fabric. I was using the light color. So that was row 2, dark side, light color. Now to work with my dark color, I have to slide my stitches to the other end again. And now, again, I'm looking at the dark side because you can see those knit columns of green stitches, of dark color stitches. So I'm working on the dark side, so the dark color gets knitted instead of purled. So my first stitch is that green selvage stitch, so I'm just gonna knit him. There's no slip one yarn over to mess with. So it's just a regular knit, not a brioche knit. And now I've got this stitch that I want to slip one yarn over, so I'll bring the yarn to the front between the needles, slip one and yarn over at the same time. Now I have a slip one yarn over from the previous row that I want to knit together, brioche knit. Bring the yarn to the front, slip one yarn over, and brioche knit that next pair. English style. Bring the yarn to the front between the needles, slip one and yarn over at the same time, and brioche knit, yarn front, slip one, yarn over, brioche knit. But I don't want to do a slip one yarn over with that very last stitch. I just want to slip it. And that is going to maintain that white selvage edge on this side and a green selvage edge on the other side. So the very first and very last stitch are just going to be either knitted or purled with the green and just slipped with the white, or knitted and purled with the white on this end, or just slipped if you're working with the green yarn. So now I have completed row 2 with both colors. So I have completed a full row 2. And here we are looking at the dark side. I can tell that because I have columns of dark colored V's. And if we flip our work around, here's the light side. I can tell that because I'm starting to see columns of light colored V's on this side. It'll be a little bit more obvious once we build up a little bit more fabric. But for brioche worked flat, instead of brioche in the round, just repeated those 2 rounds over and over again, either knitting, brioche knitting and slip one yarn overing with the light color, and then brioche purling and slipping one and yarning over with the dark color for brioche in the round. Brioche flat, you're going to repeat those 4 passes. You're going to do a knit row with the light color, a purl row with the dark color, then flip your work over and do a purl row with the light color and a knit row with the dark color. So say I put my work down, went got a cup of coffee, came back and I forgot where I was. This is how you tell. If you look at the stitches on your needles, 2/3 of those strands are green, right? So that means that I just finished a green row. I've got my green knit or purl stitches, and I've got green yarn overs covering my white slip ones. So I just finished a green row. That means I'm about to start a white row. Well, here's my white yarn. So it's at the proper end to get ready to work with it. If it were at this other end, then I would slide the stitches and get ready to work with the white. So now that I'm ready to work with the white, if I look at my fabric, I'm looking at the light side of the fabric because I have columns of knit stitches of the light color. So if I'm going to work a light side row with the light color, then that means I need to be knitting. I need to work a brioche knit row. Light side, light color, knit. Dark side, dark color, knit. Light side, dark color, or dark side, light color, purl. So if the fabric that you're looking at and the yarn that you're about to work with are the same color, then you should be working a knit row. So that first stitch is just my selvage stitch, so I'm just gonna knit him with the same colored yarn. Then I want to do a slip one yarn over, so I'll bring the yarn to the front between the needles, slip one and yarn over, and brioche knit. Bring the yarn to the front, slip one yarn over, brioche knit, yarn front, slip one yarn over, brioche knit, yarn front, slip one yarn over, brioche knit, and simply slip that last stitch that I want to stay green. Now I have to slide my stitches to the other end of the needle to work with the green color yarn. And again, if I lost my place, look at my stitches on the needle. They're mostly white. So I know I'm about to start a green row. And if I'm looking at the fabric, I see mostly light colored V's. So I'm on the light side using the dark color. This must be a purl row. So my first stitch is the white selvage stitch, so I'm just going to slip him, not going to work with the green or anything. Next stitch is that crisscross pair that was a slip one yarn over on the previous row, so I'm going to brioche purl those together. My yarn is already in the front for a slip one, yarn over all the way around to the front again. Brioche purl those together. Yarn is already in the front, slip one yarn over all the way around, brioche purl. Yarn is already in the front, slip one yarn over, brioche purl, slip one yarn over, and just a regular purl for that selvage stitch. There we go. Then we flip our work over after we've worked that same row with both colors, and we're ready to work on the dark side of our fabric. So now that I have a couple inches of fabric here, you can really start to see those columns of dark colored stitches on the dark side of the fabric and the columns of light colored stitches on the light side of the fabric. All right, now you can go practice your brioche flat, working a knit row with a light color on the light side, and then a purl row with the dark color on the light side. Flip your work over, work a purl row with the light color on the dark side, and then a knit row with the dark color on the dark side. Repeat those 4 passes, which is only 2 full rows for your pattern. And come back for my next video where we'll talk about brioche increases and decreases. Thanks for watching.